Alright, hi. Your operating instructions for the 380 horsepower, 44-ton diesel electric road locomotive class BB8888E4GE733. Serial number 18145 and above. General Electric Company, American Locomotive Company, Schenectady, New York. Alright, from the collection of Chris Jacob, the actual page sizes are 5 1/4 by 3 7 3/4. Some pages rotated for the screen presentation. Alright, forward. A diesel electric locomotive is easily operated with the far most easily operated with anyone good understanding what could do with a kept in good condition diesel electric locomotive system, all controlled with a single throttle with an inherently simple and an engine driven with a generator which sends the current to the electric motor with the gear to the wheels. The General Electric has issued a manual to help the operator with explain how to operate the locomotive since it operates. The operator who wants to know more about this work will be find this book helpful. It will explain the locomotive that actually works through the knowledge he will be be equipped to deal with the casual troubles that he encountered. Many illustrations are used with the brief description, photographs of equipment, diagrams, the electrical circuits, and are included with the operator who wants to work knowledge of what happens to when he presses a button, operates a valve, or opens the throttle. Operators should know the places needed lubrication, the proper lubrication fuel to use, how often locomotives must be used. The knowledge will be helpful to avoid certain difficulties to give satisfaction from the continuous operation well-carried locomotive. Or your content, locomotive data, general data, approximate weight of parts, section 2, how to operate the locomotive, general operation rules, daily preparation for running, starting of the diesel before moving the locomotive, operating the air brakes, moving the locomotive, stopping the diesel, leaving the locomotive, operating with the partial equipment, operating with the cold weather, towing the locomotive, and derailment. Section 3, diesel engine, general description, fuel injection system, air cleaners, lubrication system, cooling system, hour meter. Section 4, electrical system, general description table, electrical equipment, generators, motor storage, battery control system, schematic diagram. Section 5, air brake systems, description, automatic brake valve, position, lower handle, independent brake valve, position, upper handle, troubles and remedies, brake shoe adjustment. Section 8, Section 6, accessory cab heater, same equipment, horn, bell, windshield, wiper. Section 7, fuel lubrication recommendation, diesel engine fuel, diesel engine crankcase, lubricating oil, lubricating diagram, recommended lubrication schedule. Section 8, question and answers, cooling system, lubricating oil system, fuel oil system, electrical system, diesel engine operation, locomotive operation. Appendix D, engine maintenance daily report. Alright, Section 1, locomotive data, 380 horsepower diesel electric locomotive wheel arrangement, the BB 404, wheel weight of the running supply is 88,000 pounds, fuel oil tank capacity 250 gallons, lubricating oil system capacity 50 gallons, one engine cooling water system capacity, one engine 40 gallons, sandbox capacity 800 pounds, maximum permissible speed 35 miles an hour, maximum radius curve of the locomotive alone 50 feet, maximum radius curve of the coupled at 40 foot freight car with 125 feet total. Engine and brake horsepower on 380 horsepower. Number to type of the engines 2 DM 17,000s. Number to type traction generators 2 GT 55 number type auxiliary generators 2 GM G140. And number of type of traction motors 4 GE733. Motor to gear ratio 11.25 to 1. Double reduction. Air brake schedule 14 EL combined straight automatic. Air compressor 2 air cooled 2 stage displacement 48 cubic feet. Cab underframe complete. Tanks empty 55,000 pounds. Engine hood with doors 22,000 pounds. Engine generator set of complete with 10,050 pounds. Diesel engine dry 8,800 pounds. Generator with a coupling pulley, 3,700 pounds. Traction truck complete with 2 motors, 15,000 pounds. Traction motor complete with a gear unit, 2,500 pounds. Traction motor, 1,100 pounds. Traction motor gear units, 1,400 pounds. Alright, starting from the top left, moving to the right, and then from the bottom left to the bottom right. Alright, 1, grab rails, 2, sandbox filler, 3, number 1 radiator fill with antifreeze, 4, air intake diesel engine, 5, air cleaner, 6, diesel engine, 7, baffle over generator and horn, 8, 9, engine exhaust stack, 10, operator's cab, 11, traction generator, 12, roof hatch, 13, marker light receptacle, 14, signal flag lamp bucket, 15, radiator radiator filter, 16, truck, 17 reverse field shunt contactors, 18 storage battery, 19 air compressor, 20 generator air exhaust open, 21 lubricating oil filter, 22 air kerosene cutting water heater. Alright, this shows the dimensions of the outline of the GR-ALTO 3800 horsepower 44-ton diesel electric road locomotive. Notice it is 33 feet and 5 inches long. The trucks are 6 foot 10 inches. From center pin to center pin, 18.59 inches. It stands about 13 foot tall, 2 1/8 of an inch. The coupler is at 3 1/4 and 34.5 inches. 56.5 inch gauge, 10 foot 1 inch wide, 9 foot by 10 6 inches of cab. Alright, figure 3 shows a speed tractive overcurve with a GE American locomotive with a 380 horsepower, 44-ton diesel electric road locomotive equipment. Tractive effort in pounds versus the speed miles per hour. Or Section 2, how to operate the locomotive. General operating rules. Speed limit is 35 miles an hour. Do not operate with the locomotive higher speed, either with the power of the coasting, with the downgrade, of the being towed. Over speed with the call of the flash over the motor, the commutators, and the mechanical failure of the rotating parts of the motors in both. Do not overload the locomotive. Do not operate the locomotive with the throttle wide open for more than 1 hour at a time. Observe the load indicators frequently. The indicator point with the green band indicates the load is safe for all class surface. The indicator point with the yellow band indicates the load is safe for switching in short runs and transfer with the haulage services. The indicator pointed with the red band indicates the load is safe only for switching and starting. 3. The observe of the following air brake rules. A release brake on the train before detaching the locomotive. Set sufficient handbrakes on the car to hold the train, especially with important with the grade, because there are otherwise no assurance that the cars or trains detached will not start there when their air brakes leak off, as they make in a short time when this is considerable leakage. Never use the automatic brake. Never use the automatic brake to hold the locomotive on the train standstill. The automatic brake should never be used to hold the locomotive on the train while standing, even when the locomotive is not attached, for longer than 10 minutes, but not such a time. The grade of the veer is steep, but the condition of the brake is not good. The safest method is holding the handbrakes only and keeping the Keep the auxiliary reservoir fully charged with the guard that begins with the start of the braking, leaking of the off of the ready with the obtain with the full part of the full braking force with immediately on starting. Use the independent brake valve, independent brake holding with a standstill. Independent brake is a very important safety feature for the connection with the since they hold the locomotive with the heavy of the train fairly steep of the grade. If the automatic brakes are released, the slackage is prevented from running in or out, depending on the tendency of the grade given the locomotive the start. D. They apply the independent brake when leaving the control station. When leaving the locomotive when doing the work in and around it when in standing, I'll always use the independent brake valve handle in the application position. E. Prevent the loss of the main reserve pressure. After the emergency application of the brake while running over the road due to the ending of the cover of the intent with the operation engine with the move of the brake valve handle, the lap position prevent loss of the main reserve pressure. After the train stops, cover the application should be located with the remedy before proceeding. Be sure of the brake of the conditions before leaving the terminal. Before leaving the roundhouse, the engine should try to brake with both brake valves. See that no serious leak exists. The pipe between the distributing valve and the brake valve should be absolutely tight. The safety valve operation adjustment should be tested at the time, and also an arrival at the terminal is needed. The adjustment should be made with the otherwise necessary emergency application may be given too little, too much of the holding in force. Determine the adjustment of the safety valve plate for the automatic brake valve handle in the emergency position. Observe the pressure on the brake cylinder gauge with the safety valve open. The pressure should be between 65 to 70 pounds with the brake valve handle. Lap of the position. Observe the pressure and the safety valve closed with the safety valve that should be adjusted at 68 pounds. It is assumed that the test will always be made on the locomotive alone before the brake pipe is connected with to the train. Alright, how to operate the locomotive. Watch gauges. All gauges such as air pressure, oil pressure, battery charging load indicated for the engine water temperatures must be observed frequently during the operation to detect indication for the trouble. Never apply sand wheels while the wheels are slipping. Cover the throttle until the slipping stops. The sand rail of the operating gives the sand valve the answer for the throttle slowly. Make certain the sander valve is off when not required. 6. If the idler is to be greater than 10 minutes, shut down the diesel engine after idling for then 5 minutes. This will save the diesel engine fuel to reduce the engine operating hour. Then to open turn. Upon starting upon starting again with a brief idle period, the locomotive may be moved after the air, oil pressure, cooling, water temperature are correct. 7. Set the handbrake. The diesel engine shut down locomotive with the left standing. Set the handbrake to prevent locomotive movement if the air supply fails. Delay preparation for the running. Open the battery switch. Keep it open while making the daily inspection. Tie the caution tag on the switch. The tag should be removed only when the same man who placed it on only by the same man who placed it on the switch. Inspect the entire locomotive, including the communicator electrical device connection present with the rags, tools, and paint, dirt with the other foreign materials. Also, see that there are no loose nuts, bolts, or cap screws, or any other parts worn to such extent and no longer serviceable. See that all the generator and motor communicator covers are replaced and securely fastened. When the battery control switch is open, operate by hand all relays and contactors to see if they are freely actioned. Do not bind. 5. Set the hand operating valve with water oil lines in the proper operation position. Figure 4A showed filling the radiator. Figure 4B showed checking the water level. 6. Fill the engine cooling system with cleans off the water with Figure 4A with the proper anti-seize solution. Temperature is well below the freezing. Check the water level to every shift, but the water should run out of the proper tricock. See Figure 4B if it does not. If it does not, add more water. Failure of the water to run to the lower tricock indicate the water level is dangerously low. Do not operate the engine under this condition. Do not add cold water when the water is low and the engine is hot. Alright, how to operate the locomotive. If you fill the fuel tank with a clean diesel engine fuel, see the fuel recommendation, section 7, at least once a week, open the drain valve with the fuel tank and the drain off the accumulated water and sediment. 9. Lubricate the locomotive valve with the lubricate locomotive diagram in section 7. 10. Check the hygrometer with a specific gravity electrolyte with 1 or 2 cell with a storage battery. Check the water level. Do not add water higher than 1/4 inch below the top of the filling tube, but it should not be necessary to add water more than once or twice a month. If one of the cells takes excessive amount, check the leakage overcharging. 11. Operate the roof hats with the radiator shutters. See that they move freely. 12. Close the battery switch. 13. Test all the lights. 14. Close the drain cocks. The reserve of the brake pipe angle cocks at each of the end of the locomotive. The dead engine cutout cock. See that all the following cocks are open with the main reserve cutout cock with the brake cylinder cut out with a double heading cock under the brake valve with the distributing valve cut out. Underloader pilot valve cut out and the cutout cocks, the reverse horn, and sanders. 15. Start the diesel engine. Follow the engine starting instructions on page 18 and 19. 16. After the engines are running, check the following. See the diesel engine lubricating oil pressure at 30 pounds or higher. See the main reserve air pressure buildups 135 pounds. See the air pressure governor cutouts at 135 pounds. And see the air brakes operate properly and make for the following tests. Test number 1. When the system is charged with the governor, stop with the compressor for the note whether the leaks occur with the surface exhaust port with the automatic portion of the brake valve with the handle, the release, running in the holding in the lap position. Leak at the point that indicate if the equalizing piston valve is leaking. If the leakage is caused with the foreign matter of the valve seat, if it can be usually corrected by the closing of the cutout cock underneath the brake valve then making heavy surface application, returning the handle to the release position, heavy blow cloud with the exhaust fitting, will usually remove the obstacles allowed with the equalizing piston valve to seat. Test number 2. Move the automatic brake valve handle with the surface application position. Allow it to remain there for the brake pipe. Pressure it entirely with the exhaust fitting. Move the handle to the lap position. Determine if there's a leak of the rotary valve. The leakage of the valve is indicated with belonging to the surface of the exhaust fitting. Brake pipe pressure with increased by an increasing pressure for the equalizing reservoir shown on the gauge G. Shown on gauge by the intermittent flow of the safety valve caused by the increase of the brake pipe cylinder pressure. Test number 3. Make the partial surface application for the independent portion valve with the lap valve with the take of the brake cylinder and pressure with the increased up with the mount with the reducing valve to adjust for the increased leakage for the independent rotary valve. If the brake cylinder pressure increase with the brake pipe pressure will indicate the leakage for the distributing equalizing slide valve. Test number 4. If the locomotive brake release is after surface application, air leaking with the applicable cylinder with the application cylinder pipe, and the leakage with the brake cylinder exhaust port with the distributing valve when the locomotive brakes are applied with the indicate with the leaking exhaust valve, while an increased pressure above the brake cylinder with the time of the application blowing off the safety and indicate with the application valve with the leakage passing with the equalizing slide valve exhaust and blowing at the exhaust ports with the automatic portion over the brake valve that both handles are in run position. Alright, starting from the 1 to your left side up. 1 is the V valve automatic brake valve. The 2 is the reducing independent brake valve. 3 is the automatic brake valve handle. 4 is gauge panel. 5 is the horn. 5 is 5 and making a figure 8 from down to the 5 to 8, and then 9 to 10, 9 to 4, and 8 to 14. 5 horn valve, independent brake valve. 8 9 notching cutout button. 8 throttle. 9 window wiper operating valve number 1, window wiper operating valve number 2, and the reversing handle. 11 12 the cab heater water shutoff valve handle. 13 bell ringers valve handle. 14 sand valve with the handle. 15 cab heater. Alright, a leaky graduating valve may be detected with increase with the brake pipe cylinder pressure with the hand with the automatic portion with the brake valve lap position. Ordinary surface application provided with the reduction and non-sufficient with the given equalization between the pressure of the chamber, the application chamber, the application cylinder. See that the battery is receiving charge with this indicate with the battery voltmeter pointer being this properly band. See pages 53 and 55. Alright, the figure 5B with the gauge panel, number F, C, the window wipers operated, G, C, if the bell rings, C, H, C, the standard works. Or start the diesel engine. Inspect the diesel engine compartment that no waste or active tools or etc. are not, near any running part of the electrical equipment. Close with the battery switch with the figure 18 with the switch disconnects all circuit with the battery, which close with the locomotive operation. Open the bin whenever then cave the inspection with the repairing the equipment. Leave with the locomotive. 3 close with the exciter field cutout switch. Both switches should be closed with the normal locomotive operation. Close with the motor cutout switches. All must be closed for normal locomotive operation. See figure 18. Alright, how to operate a locomotive with the section 5, with the close with the control switch. See figure 5A with the switch disconnect all the control circuit with the battery. Close with the locomotive operation. Open when the inspector preparing the equipment. When leave with the locomotive with the 6th blade for the engine compression. The release lever in the running position. The lever is located with the right side of the engine. Must always the run position except with the make of the repairs and the testing. 7. Replace with the reverser handle in the ear off position. Always reverse handle in the off position when starting the engine to prevent locomotive movement. The figure 6 with the compression release valve and lever is in run position. 8. Place the throttle in idle position. See figure 5A. Start with the diesel engine so the throttle must be in the idling position, but except for the cold water starting when then may be advanced slightly to prevent the engine from starting after it is fired. Stopping after it's fired. Section 9. Close the number 1 engine start switch. See figure 5A with the key to the diesel engine switch with the close of the engine for the firing regularly with the spring. The return opens. Start switch with the switch is released. 10. If the diesel engine does not start, refer to page 32 and 57. The observe the oil pressure gauge with the C figure 5B. With the oil pressure gauge for each of engine must read about 30 pounds or higher before the operating locomotive. 12. After the first engine within running with the oil pressure normal is start with the engine number 2 with the same manner before the move of the locomotive. Start the diesel engine complete all 12 steps on pages 18 through 20. Observe the main reserve of the air pressure. C figure 5B. See that the air compressor pump of the main reserve pressure is up to 135 pounds, but then cut out. Observing the cool water temperature then must be between 140 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit before the locomotive is moved. With the release of the handle brake, with the handle brake is used with the hold the locomotive while in motion. It should not be used with the braking of the locomotive except in the case of emergency. Apply with the brake handle on the valve, with the handle with the brake valve, with the cutout underneath it, with it being open and with the move of the running position. Observe the brake pipe pressure. Do not attempt to move the train or locomotive until the brake pipe cage and show the full brake pressure. Test the air brake operation. Check the air brake operation before locomotives and move. See the brake of the shoes actually apply with the release. Operating the air brake. Following the instructions to cover the general way with the proper method of the holding of the number 14L. The equipment of the server that does not apply with rigidly to all individual cases of condition. The specific instruction usually issued with each of the railroad to cover its own recommended practice in accordance with the local operation conditions. These instructions manipulate with the EL equipment, particularly with the same, though the number to 6 ET equipment, the standard U with the same local, therefore no radical departure from the presented with the method of brake manipulation required with the desired results. 1. Automatic brake operation running. When not in use, carry the both valve handles in the running positions. B. Servo to apply with the brake, servo to move with the handle of the automatic brake valve in the servo position, move with the required brake pipe protection, the back lap of the position when it's one of the holding and all brakes applied. C. Release. As rule, the safety comes to the stop of the pipe before releasing the brakes on the freight train, especially the long one, rather than jump to the release the low speed. However, the condition permits the release of the motion when the brake valve handle should be moved the release position they're holding there long enough to move in as many of the tripled valves to release the position possible without unduly overcharging the head end of the train. This time release position should be governed with the length of the train and the amount of the reduction made, except for the returning of the running position relief the locomotive with the complete with the recharge of the auxiliary reserve the few seconds of the such release. Particular long trains necessary to gain movement over the handle of the relief of the position quickly back to the running position. Kick off any of the brakes at the end of the train with may have reapplied because the auxiliary reserve have been slightly overcharged. D. Holding locomotive brakes applied. If when released explained above, that does not hold the locomotive brakes applied, but the other the brakes released, then move the handle from the release back to the holding instead of the running position. Release the locomotive brakes fully with moving the handle of the running position, leave it there with the graduate off of the circumstance of the requirement of the short successive movement between the holding and running position. Emergency. To apply the air brake for the brakes, emergency with the move of the handle with the automatic brake valve quickly in emergency position with it, leave it until the train with the stop of the danger is passed. Independent brake operation. Use the independent brake only. When you with the independent brake only with the handle with the automatic brake valve should be carried in running position with the independent brake application may be released by moving the independent brake valve handle to the running of the release position. Releasing brakes on the locomotive of the unit. When all brakes are applied, automatically graduate off and entirely release the locomotive brakes only with the use of the release position of the independent brake valve handle. See, when the washer brake cylinder pressure of the red hand of the one air, the air gauge shows all the time of the pressure with the locomotive of the brake cylinders. Watch this hand with the manipulating brakes. C and D. Release position independent brake valve with the quickly release locomotive brakes under all the conditions of the locomotive is coupled to a train locomotive reapply with after being released, making a kick of the automatic brake valve, moving the hand quickly from the running position, relief of the returning of the running reason for reapplication of the pressure chain with the distributing of the charge for the higher brake pipe, causing the equalizing slide with the remove of the surface of the lap position charge, close the release pipe of the release application cylinder with the brake valve of the running position with the releasing the independent brake valve in release position under these conditions will release the locomotive brake will not ensure against with the reapplication. 3. Double heading operation. For the locomotives that are coupled together, the brake hose must be coupled with the two locomotives that are cut out cocks open. The remaining two locomotives in train with the instructions given them in the unchained for the leading locomotive. The locomotive with the brakes are operated within concern. Go with the double heading end cock over the brake valve of the second locomotive with the picking and placing the automatic brake valve handle in the running position. The brake of the locomotives can be operated with the first locomotive the same as those of the train. The engine man on the second locomotive finds it necessary. Even application for the brake for the second locomotive, placing an independent brake valve handle in the release position with the brakes of the second locomotive are applied, but the ranger is overeating the tires. If the driver should slide with the brakes, it can be released by moving the independent brake valve handle to the release position. They are applied later than necessary, but the independent brake valve handle usually provided with the handle with the independent with the automatic brake valve with the second locomotive to the left and running in the position after the operation that does not interfere with any with the way of the brakes of the second locomotive. Release afterward the first locomotive in the usual way. The pressure of the brake cylinder on the second locomotive should never reduce in a manner except when absolutely necessary. Alright, moving the locomotive. Select the reverser handle. Before operating the throttle, place with the reverser handle in either the forward reverse position depending on the direction of the desired movement, and never attempt to move the reverser in one position or another while the throttle is open. Move it before the handle has come to a dead stop. 2. Starting. Open the throttle steadily but rapidly if possible without slipping the wheels. Open the throttle. Increase the speed of the diesel engine car that delivered more power to the generating supply with more of the current with the motor producing acceleration for the locomotive. 3. The running of the position. Running. The throttle of the notch quadrant thumb of the operator lasts for the holding of the throttle with the desired position necessary to advance the throttle one notch at a time. The desired latch can be held out of engagement, meaning with the knob at the top of the throttle with avoid jerking and swinging with the movement of the throttle. Positive steady movement is best. Stopping the locomotive. Stopping. When coasting and preparing to stop, return the throttle to the idling position, reduce the engine speed, remove the power from the motors to return the reverser handle to the opposition, remove the locomotive the brought to stop, and play with the reverser handle with the middle neutral position. Make this a habit. Do it every time the locomotive is stopped. Stop the diesel engine. Allow the diesel engine idle for 5 minutes with remove the heat of the diesel engine dissipated to prevent the boiling of the cooling water, which would occur if the diesel engine were shut down immediately after pulling the heavy load. 3. Pull out the engine stop buttons. The shut-off of the fuel supply of the diesel engine after the diesel engine has come to the rest. Push the engine stop button as far as it will go. Leaving the locomotive, stop the engine, set the handbrakes, play for the reverser handle in neutral, close the radiator shutter, close the ventilation hatch to keep the weather out of the machine. 6. Close the compartment doors, open all the light switches, open the cab heater switches, open the control switch, open the battery switch, and close the window doors. Operation partial equipment that only to be done with emergency continued only long enough to get clear, and it is done properly with equipment that be seriously damaged. One, open the cutoff switch of the faulty motor with the isolation of the portion of the control circuit to keep the power from the faulty motor. Do not overload the equipment still in surface. Observe the load carefully with watching load indicator. Keep the load in safe zone. In the following paragraph, one motor cut out with the 4 motor locomotive with the operating locomotive at 1/2 load. Remember that one motor operating alone with the 1 power plant with the motor overload with the point of the wheel slipping, while the 2 motors over the other than the power line operating the reducing adhesion. Load indicator either will indicate all will not give the correct indication, ending up the operating with the 1 motor cut out with the damage of the equipment can occur with it unless the load is limited to the approximately 1/2 of that of the 4 motors. Not operate the locomotive with 1 or more cut out with any larger than necessary if the motors of the power plant have been disabled, and only operate the locomotive at the reducing load with the remaining of the equipment large and long enough to get in clear. Operating in the cold weather. Ordinary cold weather can cause difficulty in starting a loss of efficiency, diesel engine, good mechanical condition, and the precautions necessary for the cold weather. The operation will take up before attempting to start the diesel engine temperature below 50 degrees Fahrenheit with water over the engine jacket that will be warmed to 50 degrees Fahrenheit in order to attain quick starting. To avoid exhaust the battery with excessive cranking. The kerosene water heater in each of the engine compartment is provided with this purpose. To operate the heater with the provided valves, open the shutoff valve in 12 in figure 5A with the water heater circuit. For this valve should be also closed at all times except when the heater is operating. Open the valve of the kerosene supply line with the heater is located just below the kerosene tank. Fill the oil reserve with a good grade kerosene with the B4 raise. 4. Raise the drum and the mean for the drum handle in the slot below the feed rate line with the 5. Turn the handle tight to the right until the indicator point rests against the wick stop. 6. Light the wick several play for the several lower the drum gently and play for the lower the drumming handle in the slot. 8. Turn the drum with the right and left with the handle on the slide to make the certain rest of that evenly with the wick tube flange. 9. From the 3 to 5 minutes will require for the flame to reach its complete height with the tie of the flame with the clear blue in the color when the burn has been operating with low and turn to the high is burning yellow for a short time. Make sure the safety triple lever of the float chamber and the down with the position lever stayed in the down position when the heater is operating. 2. Shut down the heater to turn the hand wheel to the left as far as it will go. When the flame has gone out, raise the drum and mean the drum handle. Leave the drum in the raised position as prevents the oil from creeping up the combustion tube, causing an odor when the burning is ignited again lighted. Alright, 4. Close the shutoff valve of the water heater circuit with the valve of the valve of the kerosene supply line. Towing the locomotive. Prepare the locomotive for the leaving of the locomotive with the refer to page 25 with the details. Set of the dead locomotive with the air brake fixture. Locomotive with the B-hull with the dead end of the train. Play for the handle with the automatic brake valve hand in the running position. With the double heading of the cock under the brake valve with the open with the dead engine cock with the locomotive brakes will then operate like those of the car of a car in a train. For any other reason desirable to keep the maximum brake power with such a locomotive with the same that can be accomplished with reducing the adjustment with the safety valve with the distribution valve, but it can be also reduced with the independent brake valve with the remove of the traction motor brush. If the important locomotive to be towed more than 100 miles, remove the pinion of the traction motor. If towing is speed is to be more than 35 miles an hour, if necessary to protect the rotating parts with the against of the mechanical damage. Mounting removal pinions, refer to the detailed instruction locomotive maintenance instruction book with the release the handbrake. 5. Derailment. Proceed with all the other re-rail job of the track on the track can be with the relay the locomotive cut out the motor of the derailed truck will slowly apply the power with the truck on the track steadily opening with the throttle which watch the load indicated to prevent the damage for the motors on a live truck. Section 3. Diesel engines.